Ever since Abaddon's release back in July of 2013, he's always struggled to find a place in the current meta. People had no idea how to build or play him. Even pros struggled to find a fitting playstyle. He would juggle back and forth from being in the support role, to safe lane, to off lane, even once in a while being a mid laner. This shit fucking sucks! But would ultimately fall flat on his face with no good results. And there were several reasons for it. As a core, he just simply lacked the ability to deal damage. Being a kiteable melee hero had obvious downsides, especially given the fact that he had no way of getting to you. No fancy blinks or dashes or even a stun to close in the gaps, so unless you were literally AFK, Abaddon had no real way of harming you. And yes, you might say this issue could easily be solved by purchasing a blink dagger, but that was his other issue. His farming speed was not exactly good, not even decent. To be honest, it was, and quite frankly still is, pretty goddamn atrocious. He would have to slowly right-click his way up to 2,250 gold with nothing but his auto attacks and a measly 200 damage AoE shield every 5 to 6 seconds. And by the time he would finally get his blink, he wouldn't even be able to abuse it. He would just be outscaled and get kited all over again. As for being in the support role, he also felt a bit lackluster, only offering a shield and heal that honestly had some pretty pathetic numbers when being compared to other supports in the game. The only real viability he offered was that his shield also dispelled enemy debuffs, which was honestly quite strong back then considering there were less ways of dispelling your allies. But this was unfortunately not enough to keep him labeled as a viable pick, since he also lacked a real ultimate ability. Most support heroes in Dota are targeted because of their extremely strong ults that have the potential of turning losing fights to your favor in an instant. Whether it be something like Winter Wyvern taunting the entire team, Oracle keeping the carry life for a few more seconds, or simply just a big 5-man Echo Slam. Abaddon's ult basically did nothing but save himself, so unless you were worried about the Undead Knight with Lotus Orb, Glimmer Cape, and 4 wards auto-attacking you to death, simply just ignoring him altogether was actually a pretty viable solution. Abaddon never really had an opportunity to be in the spotlight, and struggled to find his true potential in Dota. He was never really considered to be an awful hero per se, just difficult for him to compete against the other meta supports and carries during all of the previous patches. But with the release of patch 7.35, everything for Abaddon changed. A hero we once all laughed at is now laughing back at all of us. Have you ever played a game where you popped off so incredibly hard you wanted to show the world just how truly godlike you are, but you forgot to press the record button again? God damn! Well, introducing Outplayed, the screen recording app that allows you to capture and publish your gameplay footage at all times for absolutely free. Here's how it works. Outplayed automatically records all of your gameplay footage onto your hard drive up to a specific amount that you allow it to. It even bookmarks specific moments in the video such as kills and assists, and on top of that comes with its very own easy to use video editor so that you can cut out all the deaths. Yeah, they don't need to see that. Outplayed is a fantastic app that truly comes in clutch for current and upcoming content creators like myself, so that you'll never miss another highlight ever again. Try it out for free in the description below, and thanks again Outplayed for sponsoring this video. So how exactly did Abaddon all of a sudden become one of the best heroes in the entire game, going from being a semi-decent support hero to the absolute best core pick in both the safe lane and off lane positions, and has been the #1 highest win rate hero in all ranks for the past 2 consecutive months? Well, firstly, he did indeed receive some nice buffs in recent patches. For one, with his E-spell receiving a full rework, Curse of Avernus now deals a hefty amount of damage over time, effectively turning him into a melee tanky Viper. Yes, I know, it sounds fucking horrifying, because it is. Not only is this a massive buff to his overall damage, but more importantly, the skill now offers something without having to get the maximum number of stacks. Back then, you would simply just walk or jump away from Abaddon before he was able to hit his 4th attack, essentially just avoiding this ability altogether. Sort of similar to how Wukong's passive works. But now, not only do you still have that same pressure of landing the 4th attack, proccing the silence for a chance to kill, but you also deal damage over time with just a single hit, giving Abaddon a ton of lane pressure, allowing him to deal a lot more damage and be a whole lot scarier. On top of that, the damage over time can then be boosted even furthermore at level 15, making it deal more than double the amount of burn damage. And yes, it even works on towers too. Cause why the fuck not, right Valve? So his damage problem is now fixed, but what about his ability to close the distance and actually deal that damage to his enemies? Can't I just keep kiting him like I used to, and if he builds Blink again, he'll just get outscaled, right? If only there was a specific item in the game that would help you scale, give you attack speed, and allow you to hook your enemies in all in one item. Oh, that's right. Well, you look at that. He's unstoppable now. I think we've all been playing Dota long enough to know that some of the biggest buffs these heroes in this game can receive are not exactly direct buffs to the heroes themselves, but instead general changes made to the game's core, whether it be adjustments to the overall gameplay, map changes, or brand new items. All these things shape and mold the way the next Dota 2 meta is going to be, and it just so seems that Harpoon was the missing gem that Abaddon needed to finally take over. This item is literally made for this hero, a hero that does lack mobility but makes up for it with the amount of damage he can deal once he's finally in. Combine it with some boots, Orb of Corrosion, and the Manta style, which, by the way, for some fucking reason also applies your curse stacks, allowing for an almost instant silence into death, and the game is basically yours to throw. Anybody, and I mean anybody, that crosses your path will be met with a devastating, slow, and painful fate with not much counterplay except screaming for help. But now, the real question is, how in Gaben's right testicle do you actually counter this mistake of a creation? I mean, after all, this is Dota, right? No matter how broken something may be, there's always going to be an answer to it. Well, you would think that, but I mean, countering Abaddon is not easy, but it is still possible. So I've made a list of several ways to beat him, or at least try to, so here goes. Step 1. Try banning it or picking it yourself. Yes, I'm being serious. I mean, if you really think about it, why would you even take the risk of the strongest hero of the patch being snagged away by the enemy team, along with the combined fact of Abaddon being extremely easy to play and also very versatile with what position you can play him as. There is really no reason at all to not first pick him every single game, assuming all you want is to win. But let's say he is on the enemy team, alright? So what can you do? Step 2. I would recommend counterpicking him, but the sad truth is, according to Dota Buff statistics, Abaddon, believe it or not, has a positive win rate against every single one of his supposed counterpicks, except one, which is Darkseer, mainly because he can save anybody Abaddon targets using his Surge ability, so try picking him if you have the chance. Step 3. Prioritize picking heroes with many stuns. This might sound like a no-brainer, but the reality is this affects Abaddon more so than any other hero, since Abaddon can only dispel stuns using his ultimate ability early, combined with the fact that Abaddon players hate buying BKB, resulting in the possibility of a cocky Abaddon player getting overzealous and throwing the entire game. Step 4. Breaking Abaddon removes the automatic activation when below the 400 HP threshold and forces him to use his ult manually. And trust me when I say this, the more you force an Abaddon picker to use their brain, the more likely they will throw the game, so it's worth a shot. Disabling the automatic activation may just throw them off guard and might actually lead to the game-winning kill. And finally, step 5. Abaddon's biggest power spike is when he finally gets his Harpoon along with his broken level 15 talent, which basically doubles his overall DPS. Try to focus on shutting him down and delaying that spike as much as possible. Early rotations and well-timed ganks from your mid laner can set him back immensely, since Abaddon's farming speed is pretty much the same as it was before, which is just downright terrible. He's not going to be able to build catch-up items such as Battle Fury or Maelstrom, and getting a Midas is only going to delay his power spike even more. So as long as he doesn't win lane, doesn't farm at all, gets focused in every team fight, has a trash team, gets killed when trying to farm neutrals, and gets his gold yoinked by a bounty hunter who continuously follows him around, then Abaddon really shouldn't be that big of a problem. Simple, right?